Hamlin turns and shoots outside. Good.
We're on the clock, breaking it down like a buzzer shot. Fast break, slam dunks, loud rebounds too. The game keeps spinning. We're breaking through.
After a 3-week break, it's time once again to talk basketball. I missed this. I'm glad to have you back, Steve. Hope you enjoyed your vacation. I'm Jose Salviati, editor at the Beach Basket. He's Steve Priscello, a longtime educator, vice principal, high school basketball coach, athletic director. And this is the Shot Clock Pod, the best 24 minutes of NBA Random Thoughts online. That's right. If you've been listening for a while, you know that we used to be the best 15 minutes, but we never really made it. So we're expanding the shot clock. And it makes sense, right? Players have 24 seconds to shoot. So it makes sense that we have 24 minutes to chat. So that is what we're going to do. This podcast was born out of the content in Steve's 13 Rules Random NBA Thoughts articles, which he publishes weekly. Steve and I now have exactly 24 minutes to discuss what's on his mind around the NBA. Today, we'll discuss his latest 13 Rules Random NBA Thoughts article, where he shares his thoughts on the 7 most interesting teams in the Eastern Conference as we get ready for the 2025-26 NBA season. Let's talk about each of those 7 teams. Steve, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's do it. All right. I'm going to start the clock. And we're off. We're going to do this in reverse order. So from the 7th most interesting up to the most interesting, about 3 minutes per team to make that shot clock work for us. We'll start with the Raptors. This is a team that you've been a little negative on in the past. Weren't sure what they're doing, but they've collected some good talent. What do you see for the Raptors?
Just as you said, I think they just tried to get as much talent as possible. And they really never thought about how it fits. Because if you think about it, you got Ingram, you got a bunch of players besides Ingram, Quickly and Barrett. They all need the ball. You really don't have, outside of Jakob Poeltl, you really don't have people who are willing to do the other things on the court besides score. They just amassed a bunch of guys that can put the ball in the basket, and then they're just going to let it and see what happens and hand it over to their coach and say, go ahead, figure it out. I think going back, Toronto, after he traded Anunoby, that's Masai Ujiri, after he traded these people, Anunoby and Pascal Siakam, he had to figure something out, and he just started just bringing players in. He's since lost his job, and he brought players in. Last year, trading for Ingram, Brandon Ingram, who's a good player if he can stay on the court, is a good move. It's a gamble. But if it works, they're just going to get better. But I just don't see how that all fits. Who's going to be the defender? Who's going to go out? Grady Dick isn't going to be. He's a shooter. R.J. Barrett isn't. Quickly isn't. Who's going to do this stuff that's going to help a team? They do have Poeltl and get rebounds. They're not a good fit to me. I think there's talent enough to become a play-in team, but I think that's, unless something miraculous happens or they make a good trade to bring some role players in, this is where it ends up.
We've been talking basketball together for a long time because you answered the question I was about to ask. What's their ceiling? So we see them as a play-in team. I'd agree, but everything's got to go right for even that to happen. Let's move to the number 6 team you listed as the 6th most interesting in the East. And this is a team that I think could surprise some folks, and that's the Atlanta Hawks. They've added Porzingis, Luke Kennard, former Clipper, a good shooter, Nickeil Alexander-Walker. They're all in. And what do you see for the Hawks? What makes them interesting?
First of all, they do have Okongwu as a big, but the unknown is Porzingis. And when I say unknown, everybody knows he's talented. But is he going to be on the court? Boston lost in the playoffs last year. You have to wonder if Porzingis were healthy, would that have changed it? Again, with Tatum going down, who cares? But you have to wonder about that. But Porzingis is a key, and the other key is Trae Young. Sure. Trae Young didn't shoot well from 3 last year, about 34%, I believe, which isn't real good. He's got to be a little perturbed because he didn't get a contract. So there's a lot of things going on now. How do you react from that? Do you react by coming out and saying, I'm going to be the best guy in the league? Or do you react saying, I'm mad and I don't want to be here anymore? So those are the 2 unknowns. But they did pick up some talent. Dyson Daniels is a hell of a player. Jalen Johnson is healthy. So they're going to be a pretty good team. They're really going to be a nice team. And they'll do better if they can keep Porzingis on the court and Trae Young comes back and has something to prove. Supposedly, he and Quinn Snyder have a very good relationship. And if that were the case, maybe Snyder can get something out of him. And I just want to mention something about Quinn Snyder. I know he's highly recognized as an outstanding coach. The clock's ticking. When are you going to win? He was with Utah, they didn't quite get there. Now he's here, and the clock's ticking. It's a couple of years now. Where are you going? You're barely making the playoffs when you do make.
Yeah, coaching is so difficult. You have some coaches who, let's say, stumble into a championship and then live off of that, i.e., Doc Rivers for decades and decades, or you got somebody like Quinn Snyder, who is, by all accounts, a really good coach, but just can't seem to get over the hump. And that's tough. Hoping for good things in Atlanta. I'm intrigued. I think that's a very interesting team. Let's move to number 5. I just realized my numbering in your article is off. I'll fix that. But number 5 team, most interesting team, the Milwaukee Bucks. This is a world championship team. They've got one of the best players in the world on their team for now. What makes the Bucks interesting?
First of all, I think the Doc Rivers, he did win a title. He's not a dumb man. And I think if he looks at that team, he realizes one thing. And he found it later in the year last year. Put the ball in Giannis's hands, get out of his way, let him play. And in other words, like a point forward or whatever you might want to call him. The pieces around him, Kyle Kuzma he was terrible for them. Porter, you never know because he's got his own problems. They did go out and get Miles Turner, and they got rid of Damian Lillard. Miles Turner is a nice basketball player. Miles Turner is not a very great basketball player. He's a nice player. I don't see him changing the complexion, meaning I see them as like a 45 to 50 win team on a good year. And the only hope they have is Giannis takes it and runs away with it and has one of the best years of his life. And that makes them a little bit better. I don't see it. I just don't see enough there. They lost Lopez. They lost Damian Lillard. I just don't see them being real good. And I see them as like on the other side of the mountain. And it's only that mountain. You're going down the mountain and it's not getting better. You're going into a valley, really. And they're going to have some decisions after this year about what to do about Giannis, because I'm sure he's going to realize it ain't working.
Yeah. But despite all that, it's a lot of doom and gloom there. But you've got them winning 45 to 50 games, and that puts them probably in the, top 4, top 5 for sure.
I'd say 5 or 6. But don't forget, you're not dealing with a great conference. This isn't a real strong conference. So you're going with just the strength of Giannis alone is going to get you some wins, because there's a lot of teams that they're just not that good. So Giannis should bring it. There's one other piece that I just want to mention. Doc Rivers earned his bones on defense. I don't know how good a defensive team. Giannis can defend, but Porter's not a defender. Kyle Kuzma was not. I don't know how the mix works, meaning what Rivers, are these the type of players that Rivers would want to win with?
We've talked a lot about the right fit, and we talked about Toronto. I mean, maybe we'll see how those fit together. It doesn't make sense. And so like there's a little bit of a mishmash in Milwaukee, but Giannis is so good that it eliminates some of that.
When a team has gone past its peak and they're trying to hold it up, what happens is general managers, whatever, vice president, whatever they are, they go out and they just get talent. They forget if it's going to fit, because they're trying to keep the talent level good. And that's what Toronto, Milwaukee, they're just bringing in people. They're not thinking about how that'll fit. And I'm going to use the Boston Celtics. When the Boston Celtics brought Drew Holiday and Porzingis in, it was apparent they needed both of those things. And they bought those players and they fit perfectly with what the Celtics were trying to do.
Yeah.
in this case, I don't know if Miles Turner was probably the best player out there. So they went out and got him at a decent price, but they went out and got him figuring that's the best player we can bring in, not thinking, will this work? And that's the problem. I can make a comparison with the Lakers with DeAndre Ayton. Same idea. Is he going to fit with Luka? I don't know. But that's the best guy you can get right now.
We'll see how things work out in Milwaukee. The Bucks on their way down. Here's a franchise is this put together team. The Pistons, though, they're going in the other direction. They're on the way up. You've got them as the next most interesting team in the East. And I'm a big fan. I love watching Detroit play basketball. What's going to be interesting about them in the new season?
If you're a basketball fan, they are the latest edition of the bump and grind Memphis teams of the 15 years ago. They defend. Bickerstaff does a great job with them. They defend. He's got them playing hard. I think they're a little bit away. They need to develop a second star. Jaden Ivey could be in. Who else? Holland is a nice player. I don't think he's a star. Asar Thompson is a great defender. He's not a great shooter. But they need a second guy that can go out and get them 20 every night. Kate Cunningham's real good. He's really good. And to me, for them to do well, you need a second. You need a running mate, a good running mate.
Yeah.
There's a lot of teams. The Clippers are a good example of a bunch of decent players, although they do have Kawhi when he's healthy, but they have a bunch of decent players. Decent players don't play well every night. And you're going to have those nights where you don't have it. When you have it, Kate Cunningham's going to bring it every night. Who else is going to bring it every night for them? I don't know. I think Jalen Duren is another one that could be on the verge. I don't know if they really are there. And that's why I think they're going to be a disappointment to a lot of people this year, because they're not going to be as good as everybody. In other words, they might become a real good team in the next couple of years, but instead of slowly going up the ladder, this could be a year where, no, we got to reconsider and rethink. And last year might have been way more successful for a lot of reasons. A, the league, the Eastern Conference wasn't strong and they snuck in. That's a big reason. And they defended and they played hard every night. Not every team that's a good team plays like that every night. So they snuck up on a bunch of people. I don't know if they're going to sneak up on people this year. So the factors all come into it. They are a great watch because they defend and they play hard.
Yeah.
But that might not work because I don't see them sneaking up on anybody.
Yeah. All right, interesting. I'm all in with the Pistons, but yeah, they're at that point now, fork in the road. They either make that move or they don't.
Well, they're going to be fine, but I don't know if it's right away. And you being all in, you're all in with the Lakers. So then what does that mean?
Just because I'm in LA doesn't mean I'm all in with Lakers.
Oh, come on. That's
not a line you can draw.
Look, I brought it up today because I waited 15 minutes for you to bring it up. You'll bring up the Lakers at some point.
The Lakers. I bring up the Lakers, the Clippers. I didn't bring up the Lakers. Let's talk about a team that made a big splash in the offseason, and that's the Orlando Magic. This is a team that I can't remember the last time they made a big splash like this. Bringing in Desmond Bane, big splash. You've got them as the fourth most interesting team. This is a good young team. What do you see for the Magic?
I could see them getting to the conference finals.
Really?
I think if Bankero and Wagner continue to improve, and they're only going to get better, if they continue to improve, look out, league. Bankero is going to be a top 10 player. Wagner's good. This is a nice duo. And now you add a Desmond Bane, who's tough and a good player. And don't forget, Jalen Suggs was out the playoffs last year. Jalen Suggs was the heart and soul of that team. So now you're bringing those two back with those two, with the two stars. You're good. And Suggs provides the defense on the court that is pretty good. And they have a pretty good guy coming off the bench, Jonathan Isaac, who's not a bad defender as well. So they've got some talent. And Wendell Carter's another. They've got talent. They're legit. I don't know if the league realizes that they are. Don't forget, Bankero's only been playing 2 years in the league. You know, how long does it take a Jason Tatum to become what he was. It took a lot longer than 2 years. And this guy's already climbing that ladder. And Franz and Wagner, he's a player. He's legit. So they're good. And Desmond Bain, of course, they got 3 legit scorers that are going to go out every night. And you can't lose sight of how good they can be. That's my 10-cent take.
No, I butchered the ordering. You've got them as the third most interesting team. And this is the team I was surprised to hear you say they could reach the finals or the conference finals. That would be great for Orlando. That'd be great for the NBA. I would love to see a team. We talked about this before, right? As a GM, it's such a tough decision. You get good people from the draft. You either keep them, nurture them, watch them grow, or you trade them off for somebody else. And I like watching teams stick with the people they brought in, and that's what they're doing.
The hardest thing for them is going to be, do they want to pay the money? Because in a couple of years, those guys, they're going to be well into the second apron.
Yeah.
Are they willing to do that? Orlando's never been known to spend a lot. So that's the biggest thing. And you're hoping with Ben Caro, he's going to make ridiculous money in a couple of years. It's early. It's early in his career. And you're looking, and you're going to be spending a lot of money.
Yep. Let's see how things play out in Orlando. Let's move on where the shot clock is winding down. This is a very interesting team. The team hasn't won anything, I think, since 1970, the New York Knicks. But this team looks good. They've got a star. What do you see for the Knicks?
First of all, it was 73.
Okay.
They beat, who the heck? Oh, it was the Lakers in the finals that year. They beat the Lakers. But I think they're a pretty good team. They made some great additions with Clarkson and Yabusele. Now they have a bench. They have to decide if they're going to start Mitchell Robinson or Josh Hart, one way or the other. There's a big decision because Karl Anthony Towns probably better as a 4 than a 5. So maybe Robinson. That's a decision that Mike Brown has. I wouldn't want to be Mike Brown because a lot of pressure. Tibbs got him to the finals, conference finals. He's got to do at least it. But putting on aside, in the Eastern Conference, I'd make them the favorites. However, I don't think there's something not there that they need one more piece of something to get them over the top as a true championship team. Now, that's not to say somebody doesn't get hurt during the season and pushes them up, but when you compare them with previous champions over the years, I don't see them as good as some of those championship teams. That's why I say that. But in a weak Eastern Conference, they definitely are the best team in the conference. It's an interesting situation and it's going to be interesting to see how Mike Brown plays it. And the other thing too that they need to do, they've got 2 pretty good great offensive players in Towns and Brunson. Yeah, a lot of times teams get these 2 good. They never learn to play together. They play. In other words, my turn, your turn. Sure. And Knicks have to bridge that. And then they have to figure out how they can get them together to play. And that's an important piece. And the other thing, too, defensively, again, you've got 2 bad defenders on the court at the same time in Brunson and Mullen. And that's not a positive. That's why I think they're a little bit short of being a true great team, but they're good.
Yeah. So you're saying that they're missing something. You can't quite put your finger on it, but it might just be maybe an Alex Caruso type energy guy, maybe a wing defender. Something's missing, but they're like really close. Is that what I'm hearing?
I think they're close, but I just think they need something. Let me give it in a different direction. Karl Anthony Towns is a great offensive player. Brunson's a great offensive. Brunson's probably a top 10 player in the league. Towns is top 20. This is like crazy. But if they were able to trade a Towns for a defensive big who can score, they get hurt so often. They play drop coverage and Towns can't defend anybody. And he's dropping into the paint, and they get hurt off of that so often. When he does come out and they don't play the drop, he just gets blown by. So there's just something that just, the old adage, you can't have two bad defenders on the court. There's so many things there that are just not right in that way.
All right. Let's wrap this up with the number one most interesting team in the Eastern Conference. This is a team that just absolutely dominated the NBA regular season for most of the season and then fell apart in the playoffs. The Cleveland Cavaliers. What do you see for the Cavs in the new season?
There's so many interesting things. First of all, they lost two good players in Karis LeVert and Ty Jerome. Ty Jerome was exposed in the playoffs because he couldn't defend. Karis LeVert's a good bench player. They lost him. They put some money into Sam Merrill, who's a pretty good shooter, as your guard. You have to remember, Garland gets hurt a lot. Mitchell's out a lot. So those are problems that they're going to have with that. Max Strus is a nice third, a wing or whatever. Nothing great, but good. But then Mobley is just getting better and better. I think the biggest issue here, very simply, is Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell, great offensive player. However, when we get to the playoffs, it's been in Utah and now with Cleveland. He hasn't really come through. And I think the question becomes, is Donovan Mitchell, he's a star, but is he a real star? He's got to produce. The betting is against him. I'll bet against him. So I don't know what the Cavaliers will do, but it'll surprise me if they're talented, but it'll surprise me if they get to the NBA Finals.
Interesting common denominator now. We went back to Utah twice, first with Quinn Snyder, and that kind of gorilla on his back, and Donovan Mitchell's got the same gorilla. The same thing on his back. They can't win the big games.
Yep. And this year for Cleveland, even if they got beat in the conference finals, getting beat in the second round by Indiana is not good after they won all those games. It just didn't look good for them. And again, you can get beat in the final. It looks like they didn't come through. Now I know Darius Garland was hurt, but they still should have beaten Indiana, to be honest with you, judging from the regular season.
Yeah. So what do you see for the Cavs in the new season?
I would hope they get to the conference finals, but I wouldn't put much money on that.
Okay, cautiously optimistic.
Cautiously pessimistic.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It's almost a situation you got to prove it. You got to prove it.
Yeah. Now check this out. The buzzer. This is the first time since we've been doing this show, and I don't know how long it's been now, that we literally got done with everything. We beat the buzzer. We beat the buzzer. This is the first time. Outstanding.
It's kind of longer time. That's why.
We could never do 15 minutes, but 24 minutes, that's our sweet spot. Outstanding. You heard the buzzer go off. We hit all 7 teams. That was an interesting conversation. This is going to be an interesting conference this season, to be sure. Maybe next time we'll talk about the West. I don't know.
Next
But make sure. There we go. Perfect. Make sure that you like, subscribe, chat, follow, do whatever you can. All that stuff helps us a ton, and we enjoy it. We enjoy hearing from you. Make sure also to read Steve's entire 13 Rules Around NBA Thoughts article. That's basically, not basically, but exactly what this is based out of. WhatsApp posts, you'll know where his 7 most interesting Western Conference teams land before the show. Now, next week, happy to announce that in addition to the Shot Clock Pod, Steve and I are going to be hosting, we did this last offseason as well, 13 Rules Overtime. And that's our off-season show. Last season, we were able to chat with the world champion. We were able to chat with an NBA referee. This season, we're going to discuss the off-season acquisitions and expectations for certain NBA teams. Next week, we're going to talk about the San Antonio Spurs. And we hope to have some San Antonio Spurs experts from the Spurs podcast. We'll share more about that as we get closer to next week. But please stay tuned for that as well. Until then, thanks for joining. Steve, appreciate the time. We'll talk next week.
Take care.